What's up, YouTube? How's it going? Great to see you again, and welcome back to the next episode of On the Ball. Today, you guys are in for a great episode. Zach and I have done a lot of planning on this one. I think we've got a really good episode up here for you. I just wanted to really quickly, for both of us, kind of thank everyone who's watched the first two episodes. We've had a good turnout, in my opinion. If you really enjoy what you're hearing, engage with us. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell so that you get notifications when a new one goes live. We appear to be putting these out weekly, which I'm good with. Zach seems to be good with, but we'd love to have you guys in and engage with you guys as well. So if you're enjoying what you're hearing, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment in the sections. We try and look at those. If we see questions, we'll answer them. Arthur, we're not answering your question. I'm sorry. We'll have to do that when we talk about soccer. We're not doing that right now, though. But anyway, thanks so much for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna pass it over to Zach, and we'll get going.
Yeah, just to mirror that, thanks everyone that has watched, and hopefully you're excited for about weekly content. That's kind of what we're planning for. So today we're going to start out. We got a couple different things, but we're going to start out with our top 5 standouts or surprises in week 2 of the NFL.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start. My first, so we said 5, but at least I have an honorable mention. I don't know about you, but I gotta have my bias show a little bit here. My honorable mention has got to be the Colts. We talked about them last week, or on last week's podcast and the week before, but we talked about them last week after they lost to the Jaguars in just a relatively pitiful game, in my opinion. But again, the Colts came out with a fire at home against a good Vikings team. I mean, solid running back, good quarterback. I mean, our defense had 3 interceptions and only allowed 193 yards. We had one TD and 3 sacks. I mean, that's as good a game as you're going to get from a defense. I mean, I don't think anybody would be unhappy with that. And you had Jonathan Taylor running for 101 yards on 26 carries. I did get a text from you, though, Zach, saying, are they trying to run him to the ground?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
I think they're to bring that up. Well, I think they're comparing it to Edgerrin James, kind of. So if you go look at Edgerrin James stats.
To be fair, at 26 carries, pretty hefty workload, but I think I texted you, he had like 16.
Yeah.
Or something like halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah.
So I think he was on pace for close to 40 carries.
Yeah.
So,
well,
he didn't quite get there, but
yeah,
heavy workload for sure.
I mean, if you go back to like Edgerrin James with the Colts, and that's the kind of offense we want to play, I think his like rookie year, he had like 200 rushes or something in his first season. It was insane. He was a really good runner. And then we had Mo Alley-Cox with the 5 receptions and 11 yards on 6 targets. I just think overall good game. We still didn't see that Phillip Rivers who dominated the game, but he was a game manager. And after the game, he even said, if I've got to be a game manager some games, I'm good with it. So from that, Zach, do you have an honorable mention, or where's your number 5?
No, I guess my number 5 here, actually kind of starting out on a more sad note, is all the injuries.
Yeah.
Just throughout the NFL, and I'm actually looking at just the 49ers alone. They're heading into week 3 without Garoppolo, without their starting running back, who has looked really good. Mostert, I believe is his last name is pronounced. They don't have Tevin Coleman. They've got Kittle's been out.
Ford's been out.
Bosa is out. Sherman is out. Starting D tackle is out. And then you talk about the rest of the NFL with Saquon Barkley going down.
McCaffrey's hurt.
Yeah, McCaffrey's out maybe about a month. So that was just a big headline for me coming into, obviously a off season where I'm sure training was different than it normally would have been, and no preseason. So
I mean, I guess so you actually touched on one that's actually later on my list, or higher up on my list, but we will definitely talk about that. But yeah, the injuries have just been insane. I mean, you're talking about, and it's not just with the 49ers, it's everyone. And it's just, there really has been a massive hit. How do you think the 49ers feel that they're going to have to play 2 weeks in a row at MetLife? Like, how did they schedule that? And I wonder if that
Oh,
was on
yeah.
purpose, because I don't think the 49ers went home. I think they stayed in New York. I'm not sure on that, but I think they just stayed in New York. It would make sense if they just stayed in New York, had some place, some
Yeah.
college or, some training facility where they just posted up for the week. But I mean, you walking away with 5 major injuries. How excited are you to play on MetLife Stadium Field? I know Kyle Shanahan has had a lot of back and forth about it. They even had an investigation on the field this past week.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh, I actually didn't know that until you mentioned it. I'm sure with that being a East Coast to West Coast flight, I would guess that they would stay out there, and they were probably set up with some sort of practice facility or practice time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's interesting. At least they don't have to make two separate trips to the East Coast. I know,
Yeah.
that travel is 6 hour flight. So
You'll wonder if, we can't talk about the thing that will demonetize our videos. Oh wait, they're not monetized, but Corona.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we're so worried about that, but I don't know if the 49ers make it past this week if they have any more injuries.
Man,
I mean,
yeah,
it's just insane.
it's rough. The whole NFL really
Yeah.
is is losing guys left and right. I mean, I think the Broncos are. I think Jerry Judy is hurt,
Drew Lock
although
is hurt.
he might play this week. Their quarterback's injured. Their uh, gosh, I think this was before the season, maybe week one. They're starting, number one receiver, forgetting his name at the moment, but he went down, so they're down to their,
Bare
third and
bones.
fourth guys,
Yeah.
stepping up to be starters. Yeah, it's been a crazy rash of injuries.
Yeah. Well, about kind of talking about bounce backs, my number 5 for this week is the Bucks bouncing back. Um, not really a great game from Brady. He played all right. Mike Evans, 104 yards on 7 catches. And the big one that I told you to watch, Leonard Fournette, 103 yards rushing on 12 carries for 2 TDs. I mean, that's
Yeah,
big. That's a big day. And the question that I have is, where's Gronk? I mean, I have him on my fantasy team. Thank God I didn't
yeah.
have him starting, but I think he only had like 0.75 points last week. I think he had 1 catch with
He
like 2 targets. It's insane.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions actually now with 2 weeks in a row. I think a lot of the reporters were starting to ask Bruce Arians there, what's going on? You got
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski, and he's a designated blocker at the moment, and he kind of just said, yeah, that's what our football team is asking of him at the moment. They have a lot of people on that team who can catch the ball and run the ball, and Gronk is just honestly really far down that pecking order. And I think there was even a quote from Gronk himself saying that he's being asked to primarily block. Uh, so maybe they're saving him. They're kind of maybe they're lulling defenses to
Yeah.
sleep, and you get to week 12, 13, 14, and they unleash him, and defenses have something to adjust to, or their scouting report is off, and they can use that to their advantage. But right now he's just blocking. That's what he's doing.
How long do you think he can? I guess one of the questions I have, and something that I heard other pundits talking about on TV or on the radio as I'm driving to work, is how long does he put up with this? Because, I mean, Gronk didn't come out of retirement to block. He came out to
Yeah,
play with Brady and make big plays. And, you've got a generational player. I think everyone will agree that whether you liked the Patriots or not, everyone will agree that Gronkowski is that generational tight end player. His name deserves to be up there with the Antonio Gates and the Tony Gonzalez's and for all better purposes, I think Zach Ertz will probably be in that conversation as well from the Eagles. But how long does he stand by and just say, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to block"? Because surely he didn't come in to do that, and surely they're not paying him $9 million a year to just block.
yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. It's so game plan dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, maybe they're they're kind of leaving that as a trick up their sleeve for later this year, where they just kind of flip their offensive scheme a little bit and start running some more sets where he's out as a receiver. And
Yeah.
defenses have 12 weeks of scouting on them and basically write him off as an option, and then all of a sudden you unleash him. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe he's also working back into shape. He went from retired to playing in the NFL pretty quickly, and I think, if I remember correctly as well, he had lost a significant amount of weight.
Yeah,
that
he had mentioned that.
needed to regain
Yeah.
to be a NFL tight end and do what he's doing, especially right now as a blocker. You know, he messing around with those freak athletes and big
Yeah.
guys on the line. So.
And it also begs the question what they're going to do with OJ Howard at this point. You know, that standout tight end from Alabama that they drafted 2 years ago. I mean, I told you early on, like, I think the Bucs just have the best receiving core all around. They've got 2 tight ends that can make big plays and 3 wide receivers that can make big plays. And, you know, if they can just get some kind of running attack, they're going to be dangerous, because that's something that Brady never really had, is a great running with a great passing attack. He never really had that as a Patriot, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting. But so what's who's your number 4? What's your 4th biggest surprise?
I think you have this on your list as well somewhere in there, but the Raiders.
Yep, that's actually my number 4 as well. Yeah.
You know, they were kind of a sleeper team of mine back in our prediction video. They look good. You know, they pretty much that game, they pretty much kind of controlled the Saints and did what they wanted. The Saints were really playing from behind that entire game. And the Raiders, they look good. Defense looks good. Their running back Josh Jacobs, like I was mentioning, is a true workhorse. 27 carries in that Monday night game. Derek Carr looked good. Darren Waller with 12 receptions out of the tight end spot.
Yeah. Big game for him.
My concern is, you know, there are some question marks coming out of that game with Drew Brees and some of his passes down the field. People saying he could barely get it 20 yards down the field. So you wonder, you know, he's not young, and where's that cliff? That cliff eventually hits people, you know, once he passed 40. So.
Well, I mean, you think about it, and so my number 4 is the exact same as yours. The Raiders beat the Saints. Like, we're on the same page there. I think, you know, Drew Brees really did look lost without Michael Thomas. You know, other than Taquan Smith, like, he looked lost. And I guess the best comparison I would have of that is, you know, Brady without Edelman. But at the same time, like, even then, like, Brady and Peyton were able to take people to a whole new level. They kind of made their receivers. Not to say that they didn't have great talent around them, but they kind of made their receivers. And Brees has done that for his career. He might just be at a point now where he can't necessarily do that, and he relies on that Michael Thomas. With Michael Thomas, he's got that short slant that can make playmaker that can make those plays. My biggest concern is I got 2 questions, or 1 concern and 1 question for you. Mm-hmm. My question is, how many carries, or my concern is Josh Jacobs and how many carries he got. So week 2, 27 carries. Week 1, 25 carries. He's already at 52 carries for this season. That's going to be a lot of carries, and they're going to ride him. So got to think about longevity from that standpoint if you're a Raiders person. My question is, who has the better new stadium? The Rams and Chargers or the Raiders? Because what I was seeing is the Raiders have like a torch in their stadium that's like the Olympic flame. Like, I don't know if it's real or if it's a screen. I'm hoping it's real. But like, that stadium is insane.
Yeah, I think it was just like a brief, you know, flyover that they do on the Monday night thing, and God, yeah, that looked crazy.
The LA Stadium's like $5 billion. I guess that's what you get when you put two teams together.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry Jones built the one in Dallas for $1 billion. You know, how long have we had that stadium? What? It's not 10 years old. It's probably 7 or 8 years old. And we're now spending $5 billion on a stadium. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
But it's LA. Hopefully the Chargers can sell out some games, because Philip Rivers could answer that one on for that one for us. But
yeah.
So our number fours were the same. What was your number 3?
Number 3, what am I looking at here? For me, this is kind of a running theme, but the Texans and their struggles.
Okay.
I'm not writing them off yet. I had them winning that division, and they played the Ravens this week. So
Wrongly had them winning that division, but continue.
They win one game and the Colts lose, and they got the same record. So, just, they went up against the Ravens. Tough week.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm trying to figure out here if that was, I guess, home field advantage is kind of irrelevant this year, but they were at home. So their offense just looks lost. Deshaun Watson didn't really rack up much yardage. 275 yards. He did rack up, I'm trying to see if he was running the ball at all, 17 yards on the ground. Their offense just doesn't look as explosive as many people were predicting it to be, and their defense was already kind of a question mark. So that's why they're sitting at 0-2.
I mean, Will Fuller was not listed on the injury report. He had no catches.
Yeah, I was actually a little confused about what happened there. I think he might have left the game or gotten injured very early in the game.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but
I mean, if he doesn't have Will Fuller, it's over. I mean, he doesn't really have much receiving core. I mean, he's got Cooks, as you said, but I mean, they really have been a disappointment these first 2 weeks. I think we both thought David Johnson was going to play better than he has, and they look lost out there. They're not on my list. The Texans aren't on my list of big surprises, because I didn't have much confidence. I didn't think that they had given Watson enough kind of around him to really be competitive this year. But I thought they'd play better than they were playing. I mean, the Ravens are a great team. Lamar Jackson is a beast. He's the real deal. But yeah, that's my big thing.
Sure. What'd you have for your number 3?
So my number 3 is the Cowboys comeback win. I think that it was kind of a surprise to most people, but I'm not sure if the Cowboys won that game or if the Falcons had the second worst choke in NFL history. Yeah. Dak was 5 for 7 on the final drive. They did get a touchdown. They won the game, but is this something that we can really rely on? They won the game, and I can't, give Dallas credit. They won the game. They finished the game. They came back from being down and won. That's got to be great for their ego and for their momentum. Again, they're in a division that's terrible. The question is, do you want to really rely on that being your game winner that close? You're at home, and that game is that close. I'm just not sold on the Cowboys. I'll give it to them. They won, but I don't know how much they won that game compared to the Falcons losing that game. And again, we see awful play call by the former Seahawks defensive coordinator. I mean, and you got to ask that question: how much longer is he going to keep his job in Atlanta? How much longer are they going to stand for that kind of play call where they're just stagnant? I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I forget who they, Todd Gurley. I don't know how many carries he got in the second half, but I mean, you got one of the best running backs, someone that was considered one of the best running backs in the league. You've probably got the best wide receiver in the league in Julio Jones, and Matt Ryan isn't a crappy quarterback. So what's going on
Yeah,
here?
he
I
threw
mean,
for 4 touchdowns. I mean, it was a 39-40 game. I mean, the offense certainly looked like it kind of did its job. Julio Jones was pretty quiet. Calvin Ridley had a big day. Um, Todd Gurley had 21 carries, only 2.9 yards a carry. But I don't know. Just off the box score here, I'm kind of pinning this one on the defense, and I
yeah.
guess give some credit to Dallas.
I mean, they had one sack. Atlanta had one sack the
Yeah.
whole game. It's just that's not good enough. That's
Yeah.
just not. And neither one of us really predicted the Falcons to be that good of a team this year, frankly. I think we gave them the benefit of the doubt, but we both had them, I believe, third in their division. So, because we didn't think the Panthers would do anything, and now with the loss of McCaffrey, I'm not sure they will do much of anything, honestly. So
Yeah.
it sucks, but I mean that's where they are. So that's my number 3.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my number 3.
All right.
What'd you have for number 2?
Number 2 was sure everyone, or at least most people, caught this game, but the Sunday night game, the Patriots and specifically Cam Newton, basically running wild for the second straight week.
Yeah.
Just completely flipping any prediction that I had coming into the season as him being more so on the running side, a running quarterback. He threw the big surprise though was he threw the ball extremely well in
Yeah.
this game.
Almost 400 yards on a
Almost
Seahawks
400
defense.
yards. And of course the Seahawks, I watched that whole game. He looked legit. He was in control that whole game. The Seahawks had absolutely no answer for his little QB design run.
Yeah.
Repetitively on the goal line. He had 2 touchdowns for that, and we finally had an answer on the last play of the game. But
Yeah.
that very well could have been a 36-35 Patriots win. Edelman,
Yeah, absolutely.
almost 200 yards receiving. So big surprise that the Patriots got a steal at their current Cam Newton price.
Isn't he only 4 or 5 million this year or something? That's his salary. It's he's on the veterans minimum, I think.
It was heavily incentivized, his contract.
Okay.
So his guaranteed money
was $550K.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be vet minimum, right?
It is vet minimum. His contract was 1.75 million with a guaranteed 550. That's insane.
So
that really is.
Yeah, he's proven everyone wrong. That's for sure.
He has a lot of playing incentives though. I mean, 80%. If he gets 80% play time plus the playoffs, he gets $3 million. 90% play time, it's 2.25, and 90% plus playoffs, 3.75 million. That's if he gets Pro Bowl, All Pro, up to another $1 million. Playoff wins with 50% playing time is $250,000 with a max of $1 million. So I mean, he's looking at potentially making. I mean, it's 3.7, 4.75, 5.75 plus another 1.75, so 7 million, 8 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. That really wasn't a surprise to me. I mean, that wasn't on my list, but now that you mention it, Cam is playing really well. We'll see if it holds up. I mean, I hate to say this, but it may have a Kaepernick effect, right? At some point he may not be. Teams may figure it out. So, but he definitely had a good week too, and Seahawks were lucky to get away from that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, well, my number 2 was the San Francisco 49ers injuries. We kind of already talked about that, so I won't really talk about that. So I'll go ahead and hop over to my number 1. But before I do that, my 49ers, I read something. San Francisco will have roughly 9 starters injured for week 3, and there may not be Jimmy Garoppolo. That's
Yeah.
terrifying if you're a team. Again, we thought that Corona was going to be the hitter in the NFL, and thankfully we've actually had no cases. I think on both weeks of tests there have been no cases amongst players and staff and coaches in the league. So that's awesome. They're doing a great job with that. But my number one has to be the Chiefs with their overtime win. You can't not talk about how great the quarterback Justin Herbert looked.
Yeah.
You
That's
can't.
actually my number
Yeah.
one as well.
You
we
can't-
we didn't share these lists.
Yeah.
So we're just on the same page.
Herbert is not though my biggest takeaway. Honestly,
Okay.
Harrison Buckner.
Butker.
Butker, yeah, Butker. He hit a
TD or something like
58
that.
yarder early in the game.
Yeah.
Then to win the game in overtime, he hits a 53 yarder. There's a penalty, 5 yards.
Yeah.
He then hits a 58 yarder, but wait, timeout. He then lines up for a third time and hits a 58 yarder to win the game. Show me any other kicker in the league that one can hit a 58 yarder and two can hit a 53 yarder, then a 58 yarder, then a 58 yarder to win the game. I don't know of any other. I like to talk about how great Adam Vinatieri was, right? Like probably the best kicker of all time. He's the leader in points right now. He had 2 great careers, one with the Patriots, one with the Colts, but he's not kicking a 58 yarder, let alone 3 58 yarders or 2 58 yarders and a 53 yarder to win the game. I don't even know Vinatieri's longest kick, but that's just insane. So you got to give it to the Chiefs. Frankly, I mean, you feel for Tyrod Taylor. I don't see how he's ever the starter for the Chargers again. You feel bad for him, but Justin Herbert played incredibly well, so you got to give it to him. The Chiefs, this game should not have been close. The Chiefs should have blown the Chargers out of the water. But
should have.
Harrison came up with the win. Yeah, it did not how it happened, but Harrison Butker.
Kicker.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of a little disappointed in the Chiefs. I actually watched this entire game.
Yeah, I did too.
My CBS network, so I caught all of it, and it wasn't really that the Chargers defense looked that good. They obviously contained Mahomes, but the Chiefs offense was out of sync the whole game. But flipping it over, to my number one surprise is Justin Herbert. He looked absolutely fantastic as a NFL quarterback. He looked in control. He made a couple big throws, fitting in tight windows. He had a nice touchdown pass, 311 yards. He had 1 interception, which was a bad play. I think he was run to his left, cross body, cross field. Threw it back over to receiver, got intercepted. But literally, that is his only mistake the entire game. And then honestly, the biggest mistake of this entire game, to me, and Tony Romo was talking about this, he was commentating the game. 4th and 1, overtime. Chargers are on about their 35 or 40.
They punted.
And they decide to punt the ball.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Versus a Chiefs offense in overtime where all they need is a field goal to win because you had the ball first.
Yeah.
You just gotta go for it there. You're about to steal one from the defending Super Bowl champs and probable Super Bowl champs, and you're the Chargers. I think you just got to go for it there.
I think that kind of goes back to a Marshawn Lynch moment, right? Like, and that, I know that stings for you still, but like Austin Eckler had 16 carries for 93 yards, averaging 5.8 yards a carry. It's 4th and 1. Man, put the ball in his.
Josh Kelly is their kind of
third down back. Yeah. 23
Eckler's
carries for 64.
Like their third down. Although they're kind of splitting carries. Eckler's much more of a pass catching back, but I think you just give it to Josh Kelly there and tell him to pick up 1 yard.
Or you give it to your fullback if they got one on the do that fullback dive that always works in Madden, you know.
Yeah, right.
They won't be expecting it. Just do it. I remember back when Cam Newton was a rookie. It was the first year he was brought into the league. Maybe it was the second year. It was the second year he was in the league, and he was on Madden. Literally, you could do a QB sneak for 5 yards every play with Cam Newton. So you'd get online on Xbox Live. You'd literally be playing. If someone picked the Panthers, you just stack the box because literally they're just running QB sneak the whole game. Yeah. It was insane.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Herbert had a great game. I really liked your text where you're like, man, he's throwing on a line, and he was. I mean, some of those throws were, I'd be shocked if Watson could make some of those throws. I mean, you know, those throws looked like the real deal. So we'll see if it keeps up, but that was kind of my take of that. I thought they played incredibly well.
Absolutely.
So before
they didn't go for it.
Too bad the Seahawks didn't go for it. So before we get on to the next one, we won't really talk about that Dolphins Jaguars game yet. We'll touch that next week more than likely. But just to run down kind of the list, we can kind of really quickly talk about the big games. 49ers versus Giants. I think the only thing really that I would watch is if the 49ers come out unscathed. Washington's versus Browns at 1:00 on Sunday. I don't think anybody's going to be watching that game. Bengals, Eagles. I'll be interested to see how Joe Burrow plays against a better defense. Not quite sold on him. Game you should be interested in, though, is Raiders, Patriots. Any predictions for what you think we're going to see there? They're in Foxborough.
That's going to be a good one. Yeah. That's going to be one I'm going to hopefully try and watch there. 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Definitely.
Bears, Falcons, who cares? Sorry, Chicago. Rams, Bills. That could be a pretty good game, depending on they're in Northwest New York. They're actually in Buffalo, so that could be an interesting game. Texans, Steelers. Who cares? Vikings, Titans. Be interested to see if Kirk Cousins comes back. I guess my question on that one is, do you think the $80 million was worth it? I mean, he was supposed to be the guy that took him to the Super Bowl, and really, he hadn't done anything.
Yeah, it was a weird signing with him kind of not really having any standout performances coming into Minnesota. He was so-so in Washington, and now he's so-so with Minnesota, and they're 0-2. So
yeah. Panthers, Chargers at 4:05. Interested to see what Herbert does to weaken defense. If the Colts don't beat the Jets by 45, we should cancel the season. They're just not good. Jets are terrible. Seahawks and Cowboys. That should be a good game, man. In Seattle.
A good one.
Cardinals, Lions. I think that'll probably, Cardinals should get that one fairly easily. Bucks, Broncos. Bucks should be fairly good there. Saints, Packers. That's gonna be a good game.
Sunday night.
We'll see how Breeze does without Michael this week. I think the biggest game is gonna be that Monday night. You got Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's going to be one for the ages. If you're going to watch a game, that's the one you need to watch this week, because I think that's going to be just
that'll be a fun one.
Whoever's defense is better will be the person that wins that game, because there's going to be scoring.
Yeah, definitely.
All righty. Well, I'm excited for week 3. I think there's some good games. I've been really impressed with the NFL this year. I think you and I both have said in years past, like, it's kind of put us to sleep a little bit. Like, there's been no excitement. Yeah. And I'm willing to say, like, this year there's been more excitement so far this season than there have been years past, and not quite sure why that is, frankly. But
no, I agree.
All righty. So next on the docket, we need to talk about a sport that's almost wrapping up. And no, we're not talking about hockey. We're not talking about hockey because there's no balls in hockey. So we're not talking about hockey. Actually, I don't know anything about hockey. That's why we're not talking about hockey. We'll have to bring Logan on for that.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the NBA. We're going to talk about what kind of conference finals and kind of our predictions for those, and then the predictions for the NBA finals. We probably won't talk too much. I assume we'll probably touch on the NBA finals maybe next week as well, just a little bit once we start seeing the plays, seeing how they play out. But yeah, we're going to talk about the NBA conference finals. We'll go ahead and start with Miami and Boston. Zach, what are kind of your thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Yeah. Miami looks dangerous. I mean, they've obviously come into the playoffs shocking. Really, everyone beating Milwaukee, knocking them out.
Yeah.
But they look to me like the most complete team in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. I mean, you got Dragic as like your fourth option on that team, and he's
A leading scorer,
playmaking point guard.
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson, elite 3-point shooter. They're the most complete team. They don't have that. I mean, you could argue Jimmy Butler is like their guy, but they don't have that one or two kind of stud player.
Yeah.
If you can call them, like maybe the Lakers, or you could argue Denver has, but they've got everything clicking.
I feel like like basketball is not really my NBA is not really my passion, right? Like if we were talking about college basketball, that's way more my passion. Like I feel like in Indiana, when it comes to basketball, we always think of college. Indiana's the basketball state. So to not have a good Pacers team is like killing us. But we've never had a good Pacers team. They've only been to the finals like once, and they got destroyed by the Lakers. Thanks, Kobe. Rest in peace, but thanks, Kobe. I almost want to say that this is a Gordon Hayward effect. Like, because if you look at I looked at the points per game that each player were kind of giving, and I understand that like basketball is not about points per game, right? But like Kemba Walker is averaging like 21 points per game. Jason Tatum is 26 points per game. Jaylen Brown is 21.25 per game. On the flip side, Dragic, 21 points per game. Tyler Hero, 20.5 points per game. I can't think of the guy that you just mentioned on the Heat. Jimmy Butler is averaging like 21 points a game as well. So like you've got three players that are stacking up, and it really comes down to just Gordon Hayward, as we've seen ever since he left Utah, not available. And when he is available, he's not making the plays that need to be made. I mean, I really do think this is a Gordon Hayward effect. He's going back to his college basketball coach where he had great success, where they turned him into Brad Stevens turned him into a great player. Don't get me wrong. If Brad Stevens was a free agent right now, I would want him to be the coach of the Pacers. And frankly, I've wanted him to be the coach of the Hoosiers forever. But it's not going to happen because he coached at Butler. But you would think in the system that they play, Gordon Hayward would be averaging way more than 10 points per game with the kind of talent he has. But he's never come back from that knee injury that he had 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he's just not the same player. And I think that's what is holding Boston back.
Yeah, he's also the fourth option on that team. Yeah. So you wonder, some guys, basketball is such a rhythm sport where if you're in and out of rhythm, it really affects your efficiency and how much you can score. And if he's sitting back watching Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and Jason Tatum handling the ball, basically every play, and he only gets the scraps, it's hard to say that he's not doing what he should be doing. I just think Miami right now is just the better team overall. They've got better 3-point shooting, more firepower on the offensive side, really, and I think the big difference is they've got a better defense. Bam Adebayo, of course, everyone saw that block on Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
What was that, game 2, game 3, I believe. He's an elite defender, rim protector, and Boston doesn't really have that on their side. They just kind of got their big three plus Gordon Hayward.
I mean, they got Marcus Smart, and who's the other guy? Williams is his last name. I can't think of his first name at the moment, but I don't know. Maybe Gordon's wife just delivered a baby, so maybe he's got a little bit extra motivation. Where do you think this series plays out? Because I have Boston winning one more game, and then they're done. I've got it 4-2 going to Miami.
Yeah, Miami's going to win the series. I guess we can't really write off 3-1s anymore with
Denver,
what the Nuggets are doing.
Yeah,
but I think maybe Boston sneaks 1 or 2 out. They're highly motivated. Maybe they force a game 7, but I think the Heat's going to go into the finals with extra day or 2 of rest, I believe.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and hop over to the LA Lakers and Denver. I felt when I was making my notes, I realized I couldn't just put LA. Like I put Miami and Boston, but I couldn't just put LA and Denver because in my mind I would have thought about the Clippers. But realistically, are the Clippers relevant? Nah.
Yeah. Well, you got to put LAC and LAL.
Yeah. Oh man, the Lakers, man. Anthony Davis is just a beast. The brow, I kind of wish he still had a unibrow because I'm really upset that he doesn't because we can't call him the brow anymore. Like,
I think he still kind of does, right? He still takes on the.
They still call him it, but if you don't have it, can't you really call him that? I mean, the guy's he's averaging 32.3 points per game. He got injured. He got hurt in game 4, but still finished the game. I don't expect any difference. I think he's going to play through that ankle injury that he had. And I think the biggest thing about Anthony Davis is that he has taken the pressure and the weight off of LeBron James in these series running up, that it's just helped LeBron immensely. It's something that I'm not sure he ever really had in any other team that he's been on. Even with Kyrie. Like, I don't feel like Kyrie took the weight off of him. That's what they tried to do with Kevin Love at Cleveland, and it didn't really work. You could say at Miami he had that with Dwayne Wade, but even then, like, LeBron was pretty much carrying those teams for the most part. Bosh, Wade, Ray Allen, LeBron was still the guy. And right now, it doesn't feel like LeBron is the guy. It feels like Anthony Davis is the guy, and LeBron is just in support.
Taking the welcomed more back seat and letting AD kind of flourish.
Yeah.
But I do have a concern with the Lakers, and it's a pretty big concern. Obviously, AD, he can shoot the 3, he can, but he's not a perimeter player, like a Kyrie, like a Dwayne Wade. And the reality of the NBA is 3-point shooting is king. Miami's doing that right now. Golden State, obviously, the Houston Rockets completely based their team off of that premise. But the Lakers, they have LeBron, they have AD, 2 top 5 players. That's why they're up 3-1 right now in the conference finals. But they don't really have just an absolute knockdown 3-point shooter. Danny Green has been miserable. I think he's probably shooting like under 30% in the playoffs from 3.
Yeah, he has been really bad. I think
KCP has been probably their best shooter. From the perimeter.
My biggest thing is they've got LeBron, they've got AD, they've got Danny Green, and Danny Green really isn't the his threat is not the perimeter. His threat is his defense. When he's on the court, there's a plus 12 differential when he's on the court.
Yeah, and he's absolutely an elite defender.
So if Danny Green, one of the questions I've written down here, and I think it's an important question, is which LeBron are we going to see for the rest of this series? And I have them winning this series 4-1. I don't think Denver can do it twice. Nothing on Jamal Murray. He is playing out of his freaking mind. Definitely, I would say, reaching that superstar status if he can keep it up.
3 times, actually, by the way. 3 times. 3-3-1s.
Yeah, I don't think they can do it 3 times in a row. Lightning doesn't usually strike twice, and I think it's even less likely to strike 3 times. And Jokic, thank you. Jokic is averaging 22.3 points per game, but he's kind of dropping off a little bit in this series as well. He's having some trouble from what I'm seeing. So I'm predicting the Lakers winning 4-1, but the question is, which LeBron James are we going to see? Because if we see the LeBron James that can play defense that we saw earlier, and because he hasn't taken as much weight on his shoulders, is he going to be more refreshed? I think if you have a Danny Green and a LeBron, that's going to be scary.
Well, game 4, he took the assignment. He locked down Jamal Murray, who, like you mentioned, is blossoming. I think he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
And is going to be a superstar for 10 plus years. You watch him, literally everything he shoots goes in. I think I saw that they showed a fourth quarter graphic from him. Stats leading up to that game in the playoffs. I think he was shooting almost 60% from the field. I think over 60% from 3-point.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter of the playoffs, and he was 22 for 22, I believe it was, from the free throw line. I mean, it doesn't really get any
much
more
better than that. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, LeBron, he's not shooting the ball well. He is much more of a facilitator, as shown by the regular season. He led the NBA in assists. He's taken the backseat to AD. But he took the assignment. He played lockdown defense all of game 4. That combined with Danny Green. KCP is a very good defender. AD is obviously one of the best defenders in the league.
Yeah.
I don't think he was first team all defense. Maybe he was this year, but he was at least second team all defense. So the Lakers have a lot going for them. It's just the 3-point shooting that worries me. If you get into a game with Miami and they're just knocking threes down, how do you keep up if you're just relying on 80 post ups and Dwight Howard lobs?
Davis was on that team, that first team all defense, with Ben Simmons, Rudy Gobert, and Marcus Smart and Giannis. I would love to see Giannis's younger brother just light it up in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's nearly as good as his brother yet, at least. But that would be kind of fun. So for the finals, I've really got the Lakers versus the Heat, and I just think AD will dominate. I don't think the Heat really have anyone that can step up to really play against him. I mean, that young Adebayo has been playing. Yeah, he's been playing really well, but AD is a whole different beast. That he hasn't really played against anyone that is really that beast. I mean, you could say he played against Giannis, but I still even think AD is at a different level than Giannis. Giannis is more lengthy. He's not as big as AD, and AD is just could theoretically just bruise him up. Will Hero play at the level he is now? If he's averaging 20 points per game, that helps the Heat. He's sixth player.
37 a couple nights ago.
Yeah, he's definitely sixth man of the year. If he doesn't get sixth man of the year award, which I know they already gave it out and he didn't get it, but like if there's a playoffs sixth man of the year award, Hero better be freaking getting it because he's a beast. And my biggest question is, Danny Green and LeBron still defend like they have been? Which LeBron will we see? I'm really thinking we're going to see a LeBron of past where he just takes control of the game and ends it.
Yeah.
I think at
You
this
ha-
point you're
you,
going to see that.
you have to think too. He's probably thinking in the back of his head. He's LeBron. He's a freak athlete. Um, but his elite physical years are starting to close on him.
Yeah.
He's still an absolute freak athlete.
Yeah.
But you have to think this is one of his chances. He might not get many more. He might have a couple more, but this is a chance for him to add one more title to his name. So
I mean, and AD has kind of talked about maybe going back to Chicago. So I mean, that's kind of, if you're LeBron, it's win now or don't win at all potentially. And so my prediction for the finals is the Lakers in 6 for Kobe. I think that there's just the loss of Kobe in January is too big. And I just think that that's going to be a huge, whether they'll admit it or not, I think that's a huge, I don't think the word burden is the right word, but that's a huge thing hanging over their heads from that standpoint. I just think it is. So I've got the Lakers. It's hard to bet against LeBron James, and it's even harder to bet against LeBron James when he has Anthony Davis at his side.
Yeah. I think it could definitely go 6 or 7 games. I'm picking the Lakers too, but it's going to hinge on their 3-point shooting, because we know AD is going to put up numbers. We know we're going to get finals LeBron with some extra motivation and urgency. So if they can just have 1 or 2 of those role players step up each game and hit some knockdown threes, I think they got the series in 6.
Yeah.
If not, maybe go 7. But yeah, I got the Lakers.
What do you think the impact on the home field advantage in the NBA Finals is going to be? I mean, have you thought that this bubble how has not having fans in the stadium affected a team like the Bucks or a team like Boston? I mean, for that matter.
Yeah, there's absolutely no home field advantage. It's a completely neutral site. It's as if, if we were talking about this in a normal year, if we just had the Lakers and Nuggets go play in Key Arena in Seattle, it's just a neutral site. So there's no home field advantage really at all. It's just neutral site, and may the best team win, pretty much.
Do you think that's the way it should be? Do you think after this year and knowing what we know about the college game, do you think neutral site's better? Because part of me kind of thinks that it is.
Well, the thing about neutral site with college in a normal year is there's still fans. So many fans still travel.
Yeah.
So yes, it's neutral. Maybe the crowd isn't as loud, but you still get some cheers. You still get some noise when the opposing team is on offense and you're trying to hear the play call, right?
Yeah.
But here it's just nothing.
Yeah.
There's no. I guess they're looking up at the like Zoom board with fans sitting there.
with all the. I want to know how people got on that board. I want to be on that board. I need to know how they get in it.
Apply for it. I think you can do it.
Well, I don't want to do it this year. The Pacers suck, so we fired our coach.
The one thing I did see somewhere, I think it was just a headline that caught my eye, but there's been some exceptional shooting, especially by Jamal Murray, with the Nuggets, but other players as well. And they were talking about the kind of more neutral background, kind of how it's almost like a batter's eye in baseball, but for the shooters now in NBA, they don't have their depth perception hindered at all by fans sitting in the crowd,
waving their arms, all that kind of
waving
stuff.
their arms, all that stuff, throwing up signs. They just have pretty much black backdrops, and we've seen some just crazy shooting performances. Specifically back to the Murray versus Mitchell Jazz
Yeah.
versus Nuggets series.
Yeah.
Those guys could not miss. So that is one thing. I think it is.
Is that
favoring
better
kind
for
of
the
a more
game?
shooter environment. Better.
Is it more
Well,
entertaining?
you know, watching Murray and Mitchell, I watched a lot of that series. Watching them go back and forth. I mean, it was literally a one-on-one game
Yeah.
for a lot of that series. It was fun to watch. I'll admit it, but you gotta have fans though. You know,
Yeah.
if
Oh, yeah.
there's no COVID, you gotta have fans. So
Yeah.
I think we gotta. If you like it, you gotta enjoy this while it lasts. So
Which bad NBA team gets brought to Seattle? Or small market team, and it
man,
can't be the Pacers because the Pacers aren't going anywhere. But like
Sacramento,
small market team.
we've heard for like 10 years, Sacramento. Um,
I don't think Sacramento's coming personally.
yeah, I think there was something to maybe in the past year or two where Sacramento was a hope, and then maybe it was a new arena deal or something. Basically, kind of took the wind out of our sails here in Seattle on the Sacramento team. But yeah, I don't really have. There's no leads on that.
I think we just add 2 more teams in the NBA.
Yeah,
I think we put one in
give us an
Seattle,
opinion.
put one in Seattle, and put one in Kentucky. Put one in Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky's a
Yeah,
big.
they got a good college.
They got
Yeah.
good college background. I wonder if Kentucky would be a successful one, and then you got one in the East, one in the West. I mean, or you could go down to Tennessee, Nashville, and put in a Nashville team or something like that. I mean,
Vegas team too, maybe.
do we want another team in Vegas?
They got a football team. Why not give them a basketball team?
Yeah, man, I still cannot believe they have a football team.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind would want their 22-year-old son living in Las Vegas? That just right there begs for a bunch of broke
true.
athletes
True.
after 5 years. I mean, if I'm a parent and my kid gets drafted to the Las Vegas Raiders
Yep.
or the Kings or something like that, or the Knights, oh my gosh, man,
The age restriction on being able to play for the team, 25 and up.
Yeah, 25 and up and being married, all requirements.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that wraps it up, guys. We're almost an hour into this. Zach's got dinner, but I just wanted to say, guys, we really do appreciate you all watching this. We know these are long. That's why we put the little snippets in. Like I said, if you're enjoying this, please subscribe. Please hit that bell to get the notifications when we upload a new video. Leave a comment below. We'll try and answer those. Yes, Arthur, we're not answering yours. At least not that question. But if you guys like what you see, Zach will be on stream with me at some point as well. Twitch.tv/demigod we stream Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Continue to look out for these videos. Next week, I believe we are recording. We'll probably touch on week 3 of the NFL. A little bit of maybe a little bit of NBA finals. And then I think, Zach, you were wanting to do an MLB playoff picture. So yeah, we got baseball. So we're adding another sport to it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments section. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Share it with your friends. Share it all you can. I'm really enjoying doing this. I'm sure Zach is too. I'll let him speak for himself. But before we cut out, Zach, go ahead and finish us out, and we'll call it an episode.
Yeah. Well, gosh, just stole everything I could say, but no,
say it again.
Us some feedback. Yeah, word for word. All right, here we go. No, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you guys, and if you want to see more of something or less of something, let us know in the comments. Leave your questions. The questions were fun last time, so leave your questions, and we got more in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we will catch you next week. See ya.
All right.